they put Hoist in there was almost nobody really knew who he was, but everybody knew who Hickson was.
Well, I think the idea was because Hoist was smaller than everybody else, and that what they wanted to do is they wanted to show what the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu system was, which was they would turn your energy against you, your aggressiveness against you, and then they would be able to sell this tool as a self-defense class. So, like I said, it was brilliant what they were doing because they took the smallest guy, the brother, and said, "Go in there and win. Don't hurt anybody, but go in there and win." And we're going to market this to the world. We're going to show these people that are smaller that now they have some place to go to be able to defend themselves.
It's really smart. Obviously, really good strategy. Obviously, you end up fighting Hoist twice, UFC 1 and UFC 5. One, of course, the loss, which is probably sticking point, right, for you?
It's like, hello. Yeah.
But it seemed like UFC 5, you were ready for him that time.
Yeah. Again, another thing I ran into is they also changed the time limit. That wasn't Gracie's that did that. It was more of the need because of the block of time that you had for this pay-per-view thing.
Right. Yep.
So it wasn't anything when I talk about this. It has nothing to do with the Gracies. They weren't in charge of changing that time. It was something that had to happen. But unfortunately, it worked out in their favor because I had really trained. And remember, none of us understood what it is that they were doing, right? Nobody had ever seen it, right? So I got caught off guard. He was able to choke me with the gi. He said it was arm. Looked to me like he used the arm, but he was using his hand or try his hand up into the gi. So that I couldn't pull it off. Grab his arm and pull it off. It was tied up into the gi, so it was difficult to get it off. And of course, they took my shoes away, so that I wasn't able to get any grip. So I got caught with that. Well, when that happened, I realized like, okay, I ended up getting humbled because I realized, listen, you don't know it all because you're a champion in Japan. That don't make you a champion anywhere else. You got to go back to the drawing board and realize, kind of figure out what it is they're doing because I want to fight them again. And obviously I got that opportunity, but the next time I got the opportunity, I wanted to make sure that I was prepared. And the one thing I told myself was, I'm going to prove that I'm in better shape and that my submission skills are better. And that, when it comes to conditioning, that nobody can outlast me because I knew I was in great shape. And so I went in and did that. Unfortunately, the day before the fight, I was pulled in and told that there would be a 30-minute time limit. And for me, that was devastating because I had trained for a 3-hour fight. And I literally believed it was going to take at least an hour, 45 minutes to an hour before I would get him where I wanted him. And I didn't get that chance. But if you watch how the fight unfolded, I couldn't change my strategy. I had to keep with what I was going to do. I was going to force him to have to move. I was going to turn the tables on what he was trying to do to everybody else, which was when he hit him in the head with an open palm or do the heel strikes, they meant nothing. All they were doing was getting people to want to move or feel like they had to move so that he was able to apply that submission. Well, I ignored that, and I actually punched him in the body. I would headbutt him. I would put pressure down on his belly with my arms and push down so he couldn't breathe. Nothing that was impactful, but just stuff that would make him have to move or he would run out of breath. I would keep pushing down on his stomach so he couldn't breathe. I would punch him. I would headbutt him. And all this stuff was all methodical because it was in my training was to just break him down piece by piece until he couldn't move. And then I would finish him. And that literally was what I was doing. And if you watch the fight unfold, it took me about 36 minutes to where I basically had him because at the end of 36 minutes, because they kept calling for overtimes, right? Even though it was supposed to be a 30-minute fight, Horian came up and said, let's do another. I asked me if I was okay going longer. And I said, absolutely. Now, Royce didn't want to go longer because I remember his brother saying he can't go because I wore him out in 30 minutes. And so then after we went again, I was able to catch him with the punch, which told you that I was pushing him where I wanted him to go because he couldn't defend himself. Then when I got him on the ground, I kept punching him in the face, put my hands over his face. I would hit him. I'd headbutt him. I started putting more pressure on to start breaking him down even quicker because I knew I didn't have much time. So when that timeline ended, I came up again and I thought, okay, we're going to go again because they're always going to want to win. So they're always going to want to keep going. And so I thought that was going to happen again, and I was ready to go. But they didn't want to go. In fact, Horian wanted to go some more, and then the corner told Horian, no, he can't go anymore. So I did what I needed to do. I wanted to go in there and show him that, hey, you're not going to be in better shape than me. Your skill sets are not better than mine. And that I'm going to beat you. And that if you keep going, you will lose. And unfortunately, if they wouldn't have had a time limit, I would have been able to prove that. And I think if you watch the fight and you see the way it ended and how exhausted he was at the end of that, you would have known that what I was doing was working to a T.
And lucky there's no judges either, because that would have probably been a win for you.
Yeah, I don't like to get into that because we all went in there and fought and knew there were no judges. I knew that, right? So I can't go and say, well, I want him to change that. I won that fight. It's a draw because there were no judges. But if people want to look at it and make their own decision, that's fine too.